Hello and welcome to today's Oboe Windfree. My guest is one of the cellists of the Irish Chamber Orchestra, and I'm putting off saying her name because I can't actually guaranteeably pronounce her surname. Aoife Nic Athlaoich. That's it. I'm never trying it again. How are you, Aoife?
I'm very well.
Good. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm not too bad at all. Thank you. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about, playing the cello in the Irish Chamber Orchestra. Cian, your husband, viola player in the Irish Chamber Orchestra. We have talked about it before, about the married couple of the orchestra, but what's it like having been through this pandemic and now to be back again together with Cian playing in the orchestra? So you've got a bit of space from him, sort of.
In a way, it's all really familiar to be back, because when you think about a pandemic, it was about 2 years. It is a really long time, but in terms of your whole life, it's not that long. So I kind of find we're back, especially now that we're sitting normally and the masks are off again. And I almost get reminded sometimes. I'm like, oh, it's weird to kind of think that, you know, we weren't doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then there's certain times there are things in the orchestra that I noticed that we haven't been together for that long. You know,
Like what?
Well, it's people that weren't able to come for a really long time. And I mean, like this week, Andre got COVID. So it was this feeling of Andre's there, and then the next day he's not there. And that's when it really hits you. It's like, it's just like that. It's like the person's present and it's like, no, they've COVID. So they're just gone and we carry on. And there's something about that I mean, he's okay, but it's a bit, I don't know. You feel it somehow.
Yeah.
Like life that wouldn't have happened before, that someone's like, oh, they're sick. You can't even see them, you know, or check up on them. And he's at the hotel. You can just text him, but it's somehow like they've vanished from the room. I don't know. It's just weird. It's a bit like a sci-fi novel, but it's real life now.
Yeah. And musically, you say the masks are finished now and we can be closer together. When you think back to being separate and having to play so far apart, and now we're closer together, is that still that sense of kind of familiarity, that sense of kind of coming home, being back together again, or has the space that we had to have, has that made a difference to the orchestra?
That's a good question. I think it has a bit. I mean, when we sat normally, I think it was for the Mozart symphonies, and I was sitting next to Christian, and I was thinking, I think I said to him, I was like, it's really nice to sit like this, but it's also like, it's being right in someone's sound again. I mean, it's familiar and it's exciting. And that's what I like about playing in a section and in any chamber music, is that you're in people's sound. And I missed that when we were spread out. But you kind of have to get really used to it again. I mean, I've been used to just my own sound.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all have over that time. It's like even if you're at work, you're spread out. So you're kind of hearing your own voice, your own sound so much. And then it's like putting it back with other people. And I do think that takes a bit of time to adjust back into that again. And we need to allow the time to find that again and not expect it just to straight away be back. I think there's too much expectation to be, oh, here we are right back doing exactly the same thing together, you know. I mean, 2 years is a very long time.
It is a long time, isn't it? I remember when we did the Mozart C minor serenade as a wind section. That was the sort of first thing that we'd sort of done and played together. And I really empathise with that sense of expectation, because of course we were playing with Jörg and Dan and Wafi and Diego and all these incredible players. And I was so excited about it. And I mean, dare I say, in the first rehearsal, I was a bit like, oh, this isn't quite what I was expecting, because we haven't done it for 2 years. Although
but then the expectation as well has changed, because before COVID, it was just you go from project to project and then it's so familiar. And in a way, I think it's changed. The sound has changed. But a lot of that is just because we've been removed from it and we're hearing it with fresh ears.
Yeah.
So I feel lots of things sound different to me. But I don't know if that means that they're different. It's just that my ears all my senses have had a different time.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. I also want to ask about your teaching on the MA course. How's that now you're back? I'm assuming you're back face-to-face teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I mean, luckily over the pandemic, the whole time, we had to teach a lot on Zoom initially, and then we were able to see the students maybe once a month in, spread out once that was safe. And the Zoom teaching, it's not ideal, but I felt with older students, at least, it was a bit easier. I also teach some younger kids, and that was a completely different experience. So yeah, it's great to be back. It felt like this year especially was a good year. They got to do lots of their chamber music and orchestral projects again.
Yeah, and is there a sort of like a new intake of students in September? How does it work?
Yeah, they usually audition over, I don't know, from now, I suppose people will apply and then auditions are arranged. And it's quite flexible. If someone wants to apply, we'll find an audition time for them so that I think it's a really difficult time for anyone thinking of doing an MA in performance, because are there jobs, is there work, it's hard. So I think having a kind of a open door of like, get in touch, audition when it suits you to a point, and
I see.
So to give people the time and just to think of what they're going to do.
Thinking ahead with upcoming Irish Chamber Orchestra projects, we've got Haitink coming soon. What are you looking forward to about that?
I think mostly the fact that we're playing a composition of his, and he's going to be playing the violin, and he's going to be directing, and just that having this person come in that's doing all of these things like Jörg does. You get to hear them play, and you get to hear their music, what they compose. What's that going to be? What's his composition style? What's going to be in that? How will it inform how we play the other music? And I've really enjoyed that process with Jörg, and how when we first played Widman's music, it's like, oh my goodness, like how do I go about this? How do I navigate it? And now that yellow music arrives, and yellow, and things are familiar. They're still really hard, but you start to really understand it, and so that's really exciting. And we're playing Holberg Suite, which is something we've played a lot in the ICO. And I think it'll be just really great to play that, like familiar music we know really well, with somebody new directing it.
Yeah. Aoife, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Nice to see you.